Okay, maybe we can try this again now. Thank you. I have no idea where it cut out because everything else, the internet still seemed to be going just fine. So, anyways, I have a frog. I colored around the entire piece that I need there. So that way, when I chop him open later on, I know exactly where the stitches were. So that I can use that as my pattern piece. But before I take him apart to get that pattern piece, I want to make legs for him. So he needs some leg. Ten-ish minutes ago? Okay. So enough time for me to trace the pattern piece out, probably. Okay. I think it was Alt. Alt came in and crashed everything. So rude. Okay, so I want to kind of make... Well, the front legs, I'm basically going to attach all four legs right onto the bottom of him. And then have them slightly sticking out. So I want to make them so that the back legs don't hit the front legs. So they're going to be about that big. And then the front legs just need to barely stick out there. So maybe that'll be like the size of his actual palm. And then I need... Frogs have three feet, right? Or 3 toes? This frog's going to have 3 toes. I'm going to do 3 toes. That seems cute. Maybe the middle toe isn't as long. Let me erase that. And maybe the side toes go out a little bit more. So a bigger V in between them. Okay, now that I've completely scribbled over that multiple times, I need to erase some of those lines so I can tell what I'm even doing. There's something like that for his front leg. That might be a good size. Well, I'm going to cut that out and see. But that's pretty good for now. And then for his back leg, I do want his back leg toes to be longer because he's a frog. He should have big back feet. So let's try something like... Oh, that's not good. I'm going to change the angle of that drawing. Most of the city got hit with a blackout, even the mobile area. Ooh. That's not great. Yeah, at least it came back. Okay, so I'm going to cut these little guys out. Let's see just approximately if these are the right size and shape. I'm leaving a little bit of space around them in case I want to change the size. I can just draw on top of them. Okay. Move that all out of the way. So there's my little legs. So on his belly, yellow. His back foot will attach like right there. Maybe a little bit back. Yeah, something like that. So the little back foot there here. I'm going to draw on both sides actually before I attach it, just so I can see what it looks like on both sides. Which I can't see through it. Okay, I'm going to the window to trace. Okay, here we go. There, I've traced the legs on the front and back now, so that when I put them here, like this, I should be able to see what it looks like underneath him as well. So, yeah, like that. Some toes that just barely stick out. And then this one goes here. Like that. Okay, it's up on the curve of him. So his little front legs will have to be mostly underneath him. So you can't really see a lot of them because he's very round. So when you set him down, the edges of him are not touching anything. You can squish him down. But I do want to make sure that they attach to the floor so that he's actually sitting on his own legs. Let's see. So if I put his two little hands right here, that makes his back feet actually a little bit too big. So this much leg, that just the very tips of his toes are actually touching his front foot there. So I could rotate his foot to go out sideways, but I do kind of want it more at like that angle there. So I may have to make his back toes a little bit smaller. Let's see, so maybe cut them off here. Just chop off his toes there. So something like that. Okay, we'll see you around Sunday. Hope you find your thing. There we go. Maybe I'll do that for his back foot. Right about there, and I should see where his center line is. So that's about his middle. I don't want to put the toes right up to. I don't want to put the toes right up to the middle. Thank you. OBS crashed. Something happened. It was not me this time. I did not kill things. So I'll do something like that, I think. So you'll have his front foot and his back foot, and you can sit on them like that. The toes will stick out just around the edge there. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put a little tiny dot on his belly. Oh, and now because I did that on the other side. So I traced out this pattern piece and I drew on the bottom that side. But I put the dots where the legs attach on this side. So I am going to go through and just marker up the other seam as well. And then I get to tear the frog apart. I get to do some frog murder. Okay, there's my frog. This is going to be my pattern. I do like this piece here. I don't have to make any changes to it, but I do have the two dots to transfer over. So, seam ripper and some murder. And then as I'm tearing it, you see how the nice clean fabric is on the inside? That's all the seam allowance. So once I flatten this back out, I'll be able to tell exactly where my stitches were because the outside fabric is all marked up and the inside fabric is not. Look at all these guts spilling out of there. Ah! Froggy guts. And then that's where I stitched him shut. So I do want to take out my stitches as well. And the last couple of ones that were locked in place. So there we go. So that is my pattern. The same one that I had there. But now that line that I originally drew is traced out in marker. And it's the outside of the line. Some of this is thicker than others. So it's just this outside edge that I actually care about. I don't care about anything on the inside. Okay, and now for this one, I originally sewed where this seam is, but I made a new line with the white thread there. So when I open this up, it's going to have a mark that's farther away from the seam allowance than in the other places. There we go. So that is my new pattern. Okay, fantastic. I will also be using this as the foot and that as the back foot. So I'm going to clean up some of my mess here because the next step of this pattern is taking it to my computer, scanning this in on my printer, and then using those to create an actual pattern, so that I can make sure that the foot is actually even and all these lines are proper. So I'm going to set these paper pieces aside. That's trash there. This is going to go back in my fabric closet. Okay, so cleanup time. And oh, while I'm doing this, I should also start up my uh, embroidery program and everything to see if it actually works. Or I'm going to start with Inkscape first. That's a lot less resource intensive. Okay. Okay, so that's everything kind of taken care of. And now I get to figure out how to swap things, and I need to go scan them as well. Okay, so these 5 pieces may or may not fit all in one scanner bed, so let me go see what I can do there. Will my scanner work too? That's always an interesting question. If my scanner doesn't work, I'm going to just have to go back to bats, I guess, because I'm not going to troubleshoot this right today. Oh, it's thinking. It's thinking. Hmm. Yeah, this is the world's worst printer. All it says is preparing the scan, so that's a good thing at least. Hey, I think it might have worked. Well, it's still working. Hang on. How many times do you need to scan it? Ah. I believe I got it. Okay. Let's see. Import an image. If this works, I can then show you how I turn things into patterns. Import. Does it work? It's thinking. Okay. It did. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Fantastic. Okay. So, time to do some computer stuff now. Okay, so this is my scanned frog. The pieces that I scanned there. Cool, cool. Okay. This is Inkscape. It is just a free vector art program that I absolutely adore. They did a fantastic job. Whoever made this program is just like my hero. And I've got my frog bits here. So I'm going to call the first layer here my scan. And I'm going to change its opacity to be very dim. And I'm going to lock that in place where it is so that I can't change that now. I don't want to make any changes to that. I'm going to add a new layer and call it lines. So there we go. Okay. Now whatever I do on top of this, I'm drawing on my own, like on a new layer, so it should be completely free from anything else. I won't affect anything below it, and I won't have to deal with that. I'm going to draw some shapes now. I'm just using the Bezier curve, and I'm going to kind of adjust that to fit along the bottom here. I think I need to grab that first handle again. So enter, and I can't hardly see it, so I want to go to the stroke style and change that up to a full millimeter. Just nice chunky solid line there. Okay. And adjustments on that. There we go. So that's the bottom curve. That should be about the same length as the curve of the belly. So I want to then, I've got it selected, it's still selected there, so I can go through and I should be able to connect everything. I should connect that one to the next one. So I can drag my candle up this way. And then, whoops, I'm definitely going to have to change that line. That didn't look right at all. That's a little bit too chunky. There we go. Okay, so that is my side piece. And that's all one solid line there. I am going to put a tiny little circle in where the eye goes. And move that up and over into place. There we go. I'm trying to be a little bit better about how I actually do these things. Normally what I'm doing is you can zoom in and out with like control and then scroll the wheel. So I zoom in and out from like 1,000% in to like 10% out and back constantly, which I'm pretty sure from watching other people's art streams, I'm pretty sure that's how you give people headaches. So I'm trying to be very careful and not doing that, but this also means I'm working at a much larger, a much smaller bit than I'm used to. So, whoops, gonna be interesting. So that's my side piece. That's the only one of that I need. I am going to put a little mark on here. I want to take my my tool here. And I'm going to put two little lines right here. Right like that. Because that's his back. That's the back of the frog there. So when I have the two pieces, those two little lines are just going to connect. So those are my registration marks. So that when I go sew, if I draw those two lines on both pieces, I know to sew the left hand line here together, and do not sew the right hand line. That's what goes against the belly. So now I'm going to trace my belly. And I do have a nice center line, so I'm going to use that, and I'm only actually going to draw half of the belly. So I can do that, and then I'm going to come around to this half again, and see if I can pull that out. Press enter. Okay, so that's my shape. I can go back up to the edit tool, and I can drag these little nodes around again. That looks pretty darn good. I'm gonna move this one down a little bit. Okay, that looks good. And now I need the other side to be the exact same. So I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it. And then I'm going to come up to the flip, and I'm going to flip it horizontal. I do have things that are going to snap together, so when I get points close to each other, they should just grab. And it did. I do not have the rotation center. For some reason, So Inkscape is supposed to save your settings when you leave. Whenever you exit, whatever settings you had, it's supposed to save them. But for some reason, my Inkscape has not been saving all of my settings. I could probably update to the newest version and fix that, but that requires effort, and I am lazy. So I'm going to just move I turned on the rotation center snapping so that I could snap the rotation center right to the edge there. And I'm going to just rotate him around. Come on, rotate. Rotate for me. No, you're not rotating. Why aren't you rotating? Well, okay, let's turn off that, and now let's rotate you. Okay, now we're rotating. And there we go. Okay, so that is half and half. That is, the two halves are exactly the same. I've now made my belly. But there's still two pieces, so I'm going to shift-click to select them both. Go into my edit tool, and I've got two nodes up at the top center. So I'm going to select them both, click and drag a box to select them both, and then I have the option to join them. So it takes two nodes that are not connected, and it turns them into one node. I'm going to do the same down at the bottom where I've got two nodes that are right on top of each other, the end points of both lines, basically. And I'm going to turn them into just one. So there we go. Now I have, down at the bottom it says I have one of four nodes. So there's only four nodes in this entire line, the top, bottom, left, and right. So we're good there. And we have the side one there. I'm going to put some seam allowance around both of them before I do the feet. So what I do for that is I select the outline, and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to come over in the right hand toolbox there. I've got path effects. And I'm going to add a new effect. My favorites, it's called offset. And offset just drops in a line. It is set to offset 6.35 millimeters, which is a 1/4 inch. So that preset actually did save. So I don't have to, because basically the only thing I do in Inkscape is I draw patterns. So I don't have to change it to a 1/4 inch each time. I do have that preset of 635, which is my 1/4 inch seam allowance around there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the top of the body. I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. I'm going to add a path effect. I'm going to add my offset. And then everything freezes. That's cool. Come on. Offset. There we go. There's my offset. I don't think the dialog boxes that I get actually show up, but it does in the path effects when you hit that little plus down at the bottom of the screen. It does include, like, it's got all the different effects that you can use, and offset is just one of them in there. So that's my favorite one. I only have two path effects that I really use ever, and it's, let's see, I use offset and then measurement. So if I wanted to see how long a straight line was, I could use that measurement tool, and it would just add a measurement right to it. So that's kind of fun for, like, when you have pattern pieces that are the wrong size and you're not sure if they're actually going to connect, you can measure them and just say like, oh no, one is slightly longer than it should be. Let me make that a little bit shorter. I am going to save this now because I don't want to lose the work I'm doing. This is called Frog Pattern. And I'm going to put it in my projects folder. So I might need to add a new one. Yep, I do not have a folder for frog, seeing as I just started frog today. I am calling this my Pocket Pail Frog. I've already made a tiny little red panda, and I have made a tiny little like Easter bunny from very tiny little tiny little guys that fit in your hand, or as the name implies, in your pocket. So the pocket pails are just my tiny little guys. So I'm going to call this my Pocket Pail Frog. Because he's about the same size as the bunnies. So, okay, now I need to trace the legs, and I'm going to zoom in on them. And again, I'm only going to do half the leg because I can make the other half with that, like duplicate it and then flip it, like mirror image it and put it in there. So I'm going to start just in the center of the toe, I think. And I'm going to go down to the point here. And actually, I might need to zoom in further. There we go, because I'm working on little tiny guys. So I just made a sharp point there. I didn't click and drag to get any of the nodes. And I'm going to click here to get a nice sharp one again. And then at the top of the toe, that's where I'll click and drag. And then I'm going to go to the bottom of the foot and click and drag to make that curved line. And press enter to end the line. There we go. There's half of my toes. I'm going to go to my edit tool. I'm going to select that one at the bottom because it's not really good. And I think I'm going to put that about right there. This top one, I want it to be a little bit rounder, so maybe I'll go like that. I'll move that node over just a tiny bit. Okay, so that's probably a pretty good half foot. I'm going to select it. Control D to duplicate, horizontal flip it, drag it on over, and I do want to turn on my magnet snapping again. Magnet snapping, the quick shortcut for that one is just the %sign. And I'm going to snap those together. Click again to go from resize to rotate. So I get my little center point. I'm going to drag that down to the bottom. And then, are you going to let me rotate? No, you're not going to let me rotate at all. Okay. What setting did I change to make you not want to rotate? There we go. I think that's a pretty good foot. So on this foot, what I'm doing right now is this is exactly where it's going to sew on that line there. So I want to make sure that there is enough space in between that I can actually snip that with scissors. So these toes might actually be a little bit too close together. So I'm going to go back to my original one, and I'm going to take this toe and I'm going to, I think, move it sideways. And then change the angle a little bit. Something like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that for it. So I will delete the left half. And then I'm going to come back to my original half. And I'm going to do the exact same thing where I go Control D to duplicate it. Flip it. Oops, that's the wrong way. Flip it. There we go. Turn on my magnet so that I can snap together at the base there. Move my rotation center to the base as well, and then for some reason I have to turn off my magnet before I'm allowed to rotate it. Okay, so that's going to be my foot. That's my back foot. I like that little guy. And now I get to select both of them. So both halves, select, and I'm going to go to my node tool because I've got two at the tip there, the two ends, and I'm going to, again, merge them together, and then the two at the very bottom, click and drag to select, and merge them together. So now I just have one foot, all one line, right there. And I'm gonna duplicate that one and add a path effect to that one as well. So there we go. That is the fabric piece that I should use for the foot. However, I am not actually going to sew these feet myself. In the same way that when I make bats, I do not sew the bat feet myself. I put them in my embroidery machine. I'm going to have my embroidery machine sew these little feet as well. That way, all of those tiny little lines in between the toes, I don't have to worry about getting them right. I'm going to just tell my embroidery machine to do it, and it's going to do it the right way for me. So I do need to leave a little bit of space in between the stitches so I can still cut them out. So that's what this seam allowance is for. This is just cutting space in between. And then for the little front foot, I am going to actually take that first foot there and I'm going to duplicate the original toes I made and drag them over. Because I want them to be about the same shape and size. So I am going to just kind of squash them a little bit. There we go. And then I want to select both of the toe nodes. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Both of the toe nodes. Come on. Select. There we go. And I'm going to move both of them down just a tiny little bit. And they're a little bit fatter now, so I'm going to maybe... that is a diamond-shaped node. I'm going to, I think, change it into a square-shaped node, because then when I change one side, both of the sides change. So I think I'm going to do that. This one here is looking good. I think that's good. I think that's what I'm going to go with for that front foot. Actually, no, I am going to change this a little bit because I want this to go here and then pull it back out. So I will have to then, I will be deleting some lines here. So if I click everywhere that I don't want, I want to get rid of like half of it. I just want to get rid of the one half. So I've selected all the lines on the left-hand side, and I'm going to delete everything between them. There we go. So now I have half of a foot. That's the one that I modified the edge of. So I'm going to Control D and then flip it, mirror image, turn on my magnet, drag that over until it locks, drag the rotation center to the point, turn off my magnet, and rotate to connect my toes. There you go. Now I can select both of them. Click. There we go. Select both. Go into my edit node tool. Select both of those. Combine the two into one. And then at the base, combine those two into one. Now I have my little foot. I have it still selected, so I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. Add my path effect of an offset. And blam, there we go. That is my frog pattern. So that was just a few hours of work. And while talking and also dealing with computer issues. But I have all the bits that I need for the frog. I can turn off the scan. And there we go. Oh, there is one more thing I want to do on this belly piece. Because I have to line it up with the other piece. So I want those little middle lines on it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add... let's see, I want my magnet on because I want my mouse to jump to it. Where are you? Where are you? There. Okay. Are you? Oh, you're jumping to smooth mode node. Okay. And then there we go. Okay, so I've just drawn a line through the center. Now I know where the center of the top and bottom are, so that I can line it up with the top and bottom of the top piece when I sew the top onto the belly. There we go. That is all the pieces I need for the frog. Save again. File save. Yes. Okay. Frog pattern saved as an SVG. So that is just my vector lines there. Ugh. Now I want to see what size I'm going to make this guy, because so the legs here, I want to do that in my embroidery machine. But like my little drawing down there in the corner, I have the back a different color. He's got like a dark green back and a light green belly, but it's got all of those weird shapes to it. I want to be able to do that on my embroidery machine as well, like sew on that piece. So what I might do is just got freehand the line here. So to make that shape, turn off all of my magnets. Don't want any of the magnet stuff. But I might do something like that. And that is a terrible wiggly line. Nope, not that one. I want to go to my stroke style. And I just want to make that 1 millimeter as well, so it's nice and chunky. And then I'm going to turn it red. So shift click to turn the line red. There we go. So something like that kind of a shape onto the back of him. And then the top part here would be dark green. So I guess I could go like that. And then I could turn his inside. There we go. Now he's dark green. Fantastic. So that would be something that I also tell my embroidery machine to do. And I could make these for myself, but I try, whenever I'm making something as a parent, I'm trying to also turn this into something that I can sell. So I could sell both the frogs and then also sell the sewing pattern. So I want to try and make this something that I could sell as a sewing pattern. And the frog itself is very basic, but if I include embroidery machine files for that, then I can have an embroidery file that you buy, and then you embroider the frog and then put the frog together. So I'm going to delete his green spot here. And I'm going to make a square. Yeah, with a green inside. Perfect. That is exactly what I want. And my hoop is 120 by 120. That's 129. I can type 0. So that's my 120 hoop. That's a fairly standard sized hoop, the 120. Let me see. Let me move that over into inches. It's 4 by 7 by 4 by 7 inches. A 4 by 4 hoop is another common one. It's the 120 and 4 by 4, which are the two like small hoops for people. It just depends on if you get a international machine or a American made machine or an American company machine that is not made in America anymore. But those are like your small hoops. And I don't think that's going to be, I think the frog is going to be too big to fit in there. Like, I don't think I can make him fit 4 by 4. Not even if I rotate him. He is just barely too big. So I might resize him. Because I do want to make this something that other people can make. So I'm going to select everybody and let's go to my percent. Instead of 100%, let's say, what would 95% of the size look like? Something like that. Let me drag my green hoop back over. That could about work. Because his design is not going to go... well, the little green guy that I designed, his design isn't going to go all the way to the edges of the seam allowance. But if I make other designs, it might. So let me take my hoop away. And I'm going to select all the frog bits again. And we're going to make it another, let's say, 95% of the 95%. And drag my hoop back. Ooh, just barely. Okay. That's what I'm going to do then. So I've made him very slightly smaller. But that, I then can fit the design of him into a hoop. The 4x4 hoop. So I can sell him as a 4x4 pattern. His belly is still too big, so we're not going to do any embroidery on the belly of these guys. We will only do no. We will only do embroidery embellishments on the top half of this guy. But we can also then fit the... Let me rotate my hoop square back around. We can also fit the legs in there. So if we want to have people do the legs, we can have them do a large and small, and then another large and small on a different hoop. So like that. The machine will actually sew out the legs for you. Fantastic. Okay. So I can make this a 4x4 frog. Now I'm going to delete my 2 hoops. I don't need those squares anymore. And I'm going to save again. Save. And then I'm going to come over to my export. And I do want to export this file. Let's see. What's my background color? I forget where the option for my background color is. Is it... it's somewhere in one of these option menus. Hmm. Is it my document properties over here? It is. There it is. Okay. So my background color, I want it to be completely white. All white, no transparency. Even though it looks white, it was actually transparent. I don't want it to be that. My bat is actually down in the way. Hang on. Excuse me, bat. Shoo. Okay. So my options there, down at the very bottom where the bat was sitting, is I want to turn the background to be white there. And now I want to export this. Gonna select these guys, group them together temporarily. Control G to group. Move them up. I want things to just take as small amount of space as possible because I'm going to be importing this into my embroidery file, or my embroidery program, and my embroidery program does not like big images. Group. Group. And save. Yeah, bat. Bye bye, bat. I'm done with the bats. I don't need that bat anymore. Bat got vanished. Okay, so I'm going to go to export PNG image over on my right hand side. I want to select everything, and I'm going to say that I want to export the selection itself. I'm not saving it to my user file. I am going to save it elsewhere. So it is going to my desktop PC. Okay, there we go. My project files. My frog. And I'm exporting this as my frog background for embroidery. I could also use this to print out, like where they're grouped right now. I could print that out as a pattern. I'm not going to print anything right now. I'm going to wait until I have the embroidery file completely done because technically I don't need the pattern piece for the feet. I'm going to have my embroidery machine do the feet. And I don't really need the embroidery file for the top half of the guy because again, my embroidery machine's going to do that for me as well. And the belly is the exact same as the paper pattern piece that I made for the belly. I didn't make any changes on that one other than adding the line down the middle. So I don't know what more I really have to do there. And now I get to stall and wait for Hatch to open up because this one takes quite a while. This is my big file. My big program. So I just sit and wait for it. Is at least giving me a little start there. Slowly, slowly, slowly. I wish I could have this open like beforehand if I knew that I was going to be using it, so I don't have to sit here and wait for it to open. Um, but it is so huge. I do not really want to try running OBS and Welcome Hatch at the exact same time if I don't have to. Like my machine, my laptop here is not happy about it even now, and I don't have anything else big running. It's OBS, Patch, Inkscape, which I could actually close, but then there would be nothing on the screen at all. Hmm. Start. Come on. It is thinking. Hmm. It's not opening. Come on. Well, okay then. Maybe I won't be able to do Hatch. Oh, oh, it thought. It thought about something. What are you thinking? Hey, okay. It is very slowly opening. I need a better computer. That is ultimately what this means. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. Okay, there's Hatch. Woo. Oh my gosh, that was a slog. I should have opened it like an hour ago. Okay. Oh, new file. So this program does take a while to open, but not nearly as long as it just did. Oh, he's going slow. Okay. I'm going to put away my color threads for right now, make my workspace bigger, because for this, I don't think I'm going to need more than like maybe one or two colors. It'll depend on what kind of design, I guess, I put on the back of the frog. But I am going to import an artwork. And that's going to be my Pocket Pal Frog background embroidery. There we go. Okay, so the red line shape is my hoop. That is my 360-200. That is the largest hoop that my machine is capable of embroidering. So I could actually put a bunch of frogs in there. The 4x4 is I think the 100-100. That tiny little guy. That little tiny guy, that's the 4x4 hoop. So it's a bit of a size difference. But that's what I'm going to be aiming for this design. There we go. I'm going to zoom in on the little feet, because I'm going to trace them first. So on the bat plushie, the BZ bat plushie, the bottom of the feet is left open because you're going to be tucking that into the body of the bat. I don't have, like, we're not going to be tucking anything with these frogs. They're going to be just sewn onto the bottom. So I don't really want to leave the end open. I do want that nice round shape. But I might do something like leave a hole on the side so that I can flip through that hole. Or I'll just sew them completely together and then cut a little hole in the top layer and then pull it through there and then just sew that hole up and attach it to the frog's body so that hole is then hidden. The hole might be easier in terms of sewing it up later because I'm already going to be sewing the foot onto the body, so I'm going to be sewing that area. If I leave the side open, then you actually have to sew up the side and sew the foot onto the body. So I think the whole idea is going to actually be the best. I am going to go get my digitizing tools and just basically exactly what I did in Inkscape, where I drew out the lines, I traced out the lines there. I am going to be doing the exact same thing around these feet here. Hi Jacob, welcome in. I am working on a little frog plushie right now. I did this a little bit earlier. I made the entire pattern and then I traced it all out. And now I'm making it so that most of the pieces will be sewn on my embroidery machine and I don't have to do the little tiny fiddly work myself. So I'm going to have my embroidery machine trace these out and stitch them for me. I'm going to do a closed shape. So I want to go all the way around so that way I don't have to sew anything more on the sides of these feet. So I'm going to start right at the top of the middle toe here. And, wait, I want right click because that gives me a round point. Unlike in Inkscape where I drew this, where I can click and drag to get those Bezier curves, in Wilcom Hatch here, you just get either a straight or a curved point. And you just have to kind of place them where you need them, either straight or curved, and like a sharp corner or a curved corner. And then you go back and you edit them to make sure that they all look right. So I'm just going to go around and put all of these little curves. I did put 2 of the sharp corners right in between the toes. So that's a sharp corner down there. And I'm going to do another sharp corner there, and ooh, right there, that last toe that I made, that is not a very good line. So I am going to have to go back and fix that one. But I can do that and then hit enter to connect them all. And it fills it in with stitches, which I don't want that. I just want an outline. And I'm going to make it, let's see, what stands out the best? Red, maybe? So I'm going to come back in. I'm going to go to my edit tool, just same as I did in Inkscape. And I'm going to come in, and I'm going to just add a node or two and click and drag them around until I have it right on top of that line. So that looks pretty good. It is not exactly centered, but this is also a very, very tiny foot. The entire width of this foot is 40 millimeters wide. So that's what, less than 2 inches wide. It is a very, very tiny, tiny little foot. So I don't really need to be super, super precise. As long as it's in that same general shape, I will get that foot there. So that's my back foot for my frog. Now I'm going to make my front foot. And I'm going to do it the exact same way where I'm digitizing a closed shape. I'm going to start at the tip of the toe and make it a round connector there. And I'm going to go down to the toes and back up to the next toe. And all the way around. And then my straight points there, the sharp turns. And I'll put one more right there and then hit enter to continue to finish the line. It is green again. I don't want green, I want red. Or lipstick is the color I picked there just because it stands out. Lipstick. Let's see, what would red look any better? Poinsettia? No, that looks about the same. So, okay. So there we go. I have now traced both of those guys. I'm going to zoom back out. And I do have that seam allowance around it, so I do have to kind of make sure there. Yes, so the outline around the edge, that's called the seam allowance. Basically, that inner line is where all the stitches go, but you don't want your stitches right on the edge of the fabric because then the fabric will like rip apart and you'll have holes. So you leave a little bit around the edge. I use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's a little over 6 millimeters around the edge, just so that there's that little bit of extra fabric inside the plushie there. So you do need the extra fabric, but nobody's ever going to see that. So yeah, it is essentially like bleed. So there we go. I am going to really rough because I don't actually need to have that seam allowance. That is just mainly being when I make this in the embroidery hoop, I need to leave a little bit of space around it so that I can cut these guys out afterwards. So I am going to trace that out very quickly, and it's not going to look nice at all. It's just going to be the real quick shape around so I know the space that I need to leave. And I will put that in black right there. Drag some of them back into where they're supposed to be. Come on. Nope, that was the wrong one. When my computer updated to Windows 11, it changed all of the sizes of my little nodes, and it made them so much smaller and harder to grab. So there we go. And then I will do one more of those seam allowances. Oops, I don't want an open shape. I want a closed shape. And enter. There we go. Okay, so those ones there are purely just the outlines for now. That's a temporary thing so that when I move one of the feet, I know how much space to put in between. Yeah, I did not mean to upgrade to Windows 11. My computer blue screened and crashed, and when it started back up, it was like, I'm updating. And because it had crashed and like was restarting, I had walked away from it. I was doing something else, letting it do its thing. And so I don't even know if I had the option to cancel or not. Because by the time I came back, it was like 3/4 of the way through Windows 11 install. And it was like, God damn it. So I'm not a fan of Windows 11. They changed my entire taskbar. They changed my start menu. I can't organize things in my start menu anymore. It's like an iPod screen or like a iPad screen where things just kind of line up. It's annoying as hell. So, okay, I haven't saved this yet. I should probably save this, especially with the way that it is just grinding to a halt here. So I'm going to save this as frog embroidery, frog in the hoop embroidery. Because in the hoop plushies are basically things where your embroidery machine does most of the work for you. You might need to just combine a couple of pieces together, but in general, your machine is doing the big heavy lifting of the project. So if I can make this that the feet are made in the hoop and the sides, like the top sides of the frog, like that top half with the dark green splash on it, if that is all made in the hoop, that would be really, really nice. It wouldn't technically be considered an in the hoop, I don't think, because the top and the bottom, and the two top pieces and the bottom piece are not being sewn together in the embroidery machine, but most of the work would be done by the embroidery machine anyways, so that would be very helpful, and I'm going to consider it an in the hoop for now. Yeah, two-mate program, yeah. I luckily the only things that really changed were in my embroidery program here, which I use all the time. The only big changes are those little handles, the nodes that I have to grab. They're about half the size as they used to be. So they're just tiny little things. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how to change that back. And Inkscape that I use for designing all these files, like the black and white art behind the stitches that I'm making now, that was made in Inkscape, and on Inkscape it also changed the nodes to be basically invisible, but on Inkscape I was able to change the node size and make them large again, so they're back to the normal size that I like. But I don't know how to fix them in Welcome Hatch, and that is a very expensive program that I do not plan on paying for the next upgrade for a while, because this one still works for me. And I've already spent several $100s on this program. I don't need it again. Water aerobics? I think so. I think that's what you call them. Yeah. Thank you. I hope you have a good time too. And thanks for stopping by, Sunday. Thanks. Okay, so I am going to move my design out of the way. Go away. Okay. Or not. Nope. It says it's going to stay right where it is. Cool. Okay. And anyways, okay, so I will move the feet then, I guess. Come on, select the feet. There we go. Feet move. I will just move them sideways then. That works. Okay. So those are my feet that I'm working with. And the black lines have overlapped a little bit, but that's fine. That's just the spacing there. I don't really need them to have any more than what they are. So I am then going to go, and right now over on the right hand side, number 2, that is my outline. I've done that as a single run stitch, which is just exactly what you do on a sewing machine when you're sewing. But I do want to make this a little bit more durable, so what I'm going to do is change that into a triple run, which means every stitch actually goes over 3 times. So you get extra thread in there. And I'm going to change my stitch length from 2.5, which is the normal sewing length, down to 1. So it's just a very tight, very thick stitch now for a little bit of extra strength around it. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the small foot, where I'm changing that to a triple run and a 1mm stitch. That is the feet there. I don't really need them anymore. They're done. If I select them both and we go back to my hoop area, that red square there, I just want to make sure that they do, I just grabbed one of them. Okay, put that one back. Okay. Whatever you're doing. Really? Why did you make them single runs again? Okay, I want them to be triple runs. And I want them to be 1mm. Yes. Okay. And I just want to make sure that they actually fit inside of that 4x4 square. So they do. Perfect. Okay. So this is when if I sell this pattern later on, I can sell it as it fits in a 4x4 hoop. So that's really what my goal is there. I do not need to trace the belly. I decided against doing that. That's going to be just a paper pattern piece that you have to cut out by hand. But the top half of the frog here, that one is going to be embroidered on. So that one is going to have the, let's see. Yeah, that one is going to have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The embroidery, the design on it. So that's the fancy one. Kind of in the little picture down at the bottom, middle bottom, the little green frog I've drawn. The dark green is going to be a design on the top of him. So I'm going to make that in the hoop as well. So I'm going to zoom in on the body. There we go. Just so that I have the biggest amount of working space as I can. And I'm going to want to put, I'm going to do that exact same green design right now. I could do some other ones as well, but for now, me not being super creative, I'm just going to go with my little green guy that I made. And I want him to have some of those wobbly shapes, so I'm going to go with a open shape right now. I'm going to trace the outline of where I want that green to be. And I do want his entire face to be green, I think. So I'm going to start here. And I'm going to come right along the base. So that top inside line, that is where we're going to sew him on. I'm going to stay a little bit away from it because I don't want to have to sew through those lines. So instead I'm going to go around, and his eye, that little round circle, that's where his eye attaches. So I'm going to go around his eye. And I think back a little bit here. And I'll do one more swoopy up. And then I do want it to go straight down to the butt. So he's going to have green all the way down to his belly. So I'm going to connect it to that line there and hit enter. Okay. Not fantastic line. So I'm going to go back to my edit and I'm going to make sure it's selected first. Yep, it is selected. And I'm going to smooth it. And let's see what the machine does for me. what my computer does for me. That was even worse. So, oh my goodness. Okay. My computer is having a day. Okay. So I guess I'm going to just reshape it by hand. I can go and click on my straight nodes because I definitely don't want them to be straight. I want everything to be a curve. So I'm just selecting each individual little node here. And I can get rid of some of them. I don't need these guys there. That is too many nodes in an area. But like this guy here. And I'm just using my arrow keys to move them around to where I think might look better. Let's see. Nope, that didn't work. So put that guy back. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make this narrower. And I'll get rid of that square one again. I don't want straight lines in this. I want curves. So there we go. It doesn't look terrible. Maybe this one I want to be a little bit shorter. Because if I make it shorter, then I can put spots underneath it as well. And I do want to put some spots in there because I like what I did with the spots. I think that's cute. So I'm going to move that one up. Like that. So that I've got space for a larger spot. Okay. So again, the side of the body here with the two lines on it, that's the top half of the frog. The right-hand side here, that's what connects to the belly. So I'm kind of just keeping that in mind as I go through and design this line. So that's what I'm going to use as my wiggly line for the dark green. I am going to extend it up to the seam allowance here because this is something that we're going to sew by hand or by machine or wherever. Once the design is fully made, we will just stitch these guys out and that'll be it. And I do want the seam allowance bits to be kind of perpendicular. So they come out at right angles to the line that they touch. So there we go. I changed the bottom one there to be a little bit more straight. And so what we're going to do, we're going to be putting the light green fabric into the hoop, into the embroidery machine. Then we're going to stitch out this line on that light green fabric. That line is going to tell us where the dark green fabric goes on top. So I want actually to extend this line a little bit further. So I'm going to copy the line and paste a duplicate of the line. Because this first line, the very first one that it does, I also want it to, where's my digitized tools? I want it to show you the outside part, the left-hand side, so you know how big that fabric goes and where it should actually be placed. So I want the entire outline, not just the wiggly curve outline. So I'm going to I'm going to digitize an open shape. And I'm going to come up to where I left off. And I'm going to just do a big curvy line and connect them there. And enter to do that. And I'm going to zoom in really far on those 2 points because, yep, my two threads do not actually touch. I want them to be touching because I'm going to combine them together into one shape. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to zoom all the way back out. And I'm going to go up to the top corner. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Whoops, and lose it entirely. Come on. There we go. And, oh, they're pretty close, but I really do want them completely overlapping. And then I zoom back out. Okay. Now when I select, which one did I edit? Oh no, this one. Okay. When I select the two of them, I'm going to come over to my tools and I'm going to weld them together. So I merge them into one. So now I have that entire outline. So that's going to be where the dark green fabric goes. Once the dark green fabric is down, then I need to hold it in place. So I'm going to do one stitch all the way around it. So the exact same shape. So I'm going to copy and paste. And I'll put that next in that line. So I do number 6 over on the right hand side. That is where the fabric goes. Number 7 is going to hold that fabric down. So I'm going to actually put that in green. And then the next one is I really want to make sure that edge where the curvy line is, I really want to make sure that's held down. So I'm going to copy and make another version of that curvy line. And I'm going to make that my triple run at 1 millimeter long. And I'm going to make that one green as well. So right now we put the light green fabric in the hoop. We then put the stitch down to indicate where the dark green goes. We put the dark green down, and then we stitch the green line that I just drew all the way around it, and we reinforce that curvy part of the line. After that, we then need to cut away the extra fabric. We don't need anything beyond that outline. Once it's cut away, we put down our water-soluble stabilizer, whatever, to keep that fuzzy down, and we're actually going to embroider that line. So that's the fun stuff. I'm going to use this last one that I did there, and we're going to make that a satin stitch. It is 2.5. I'm going to go up to 3.0. We're going to see how that looks. And I'm going to zoom in on this because that is kind of wonky right in there. I'm not sure if I like that part right there. So I'm going to zoom in and see if I can fix that now that I see it in the satin line, how wonky that line is. And I'm going to turn off the stitches so I can no longer see the stitches. Now I just see the zigzag path that they take. That way I can see the green line underneath, because I want to make sure whatever I do, the satin line is still going to cover that first line that I drew. So I might change. Oh no, that didn't work. Let's see. Oh gosh. Okay. Go away. Let's see, move down a little bit here. No, that is the wrong one. I'm not selecting the right thing. Okay. Ah, professional. I'm going to get rid of all those guys. Okay, zoom back out a little bit. Delete those ones there. I just want one. I'm going to move them up a little bit. Zoom back in on that. Whoop. Whoa, what are you doing there? Hatch is not having fun today. Okay. I might need a better computer before I try doing more streams with Patch here. He is not having fun. Normally, you should be able to very easily edit these. For some reason, probably because I don't have a great computer and I'm running OBS and Hatch, which is my most intensive one, he's having all sorts of issues. He is not liking this at all. It should be much easier than this. It should not be giving me the errors and just deleting lines entirely when I try to undo things. And for some reason, like, it dropped in like 20 some nodes when it should be a much smoother single node in that area. So I don't know what exactly is going wrong there. Yeah, like, I've got like 30 some nodes in this section. That's supposed to be like 1. And when I move the one node, it's not supposed to change anything else around it there. Like, why are you guys all moving? Go back to your line. Let's see. I have OBS, Spotify, and Hatch. I've killed everything else. I even turned off the one that just sends these embroidery files to my sewing machine. So that, like that. I think this is much more a case of I bought this laptop so that I could draw on the go, and that's all that I really cared about with it, like that it would run. Wow, yeah, everybody's moving. See, that's not great. Why are you guys doing this? Oof. The only thing I really cared about when I got this laptop, it was middle of the pandemic, so there wasn't a lot of shopping around available. The only thing I really cared about is, would I be able to use it for drawing? And yes, I can. And that was all I cared about. So the fact that it's like streaming now, probably not the best computer for it. I would like to get a like actual desktop nice computer for my workroom here, like with in my studio, in my Dapper Moose studio. I'd like to have a desktop just for work and nothing else. That's a future thing right now. Right now, I cannot spend extra money. We are planning a wedding, a makeup wedding, the third wedding, because we were originally going to get married in 2020 and then 2021 and now 2023. So, yeah. So until that happens, we've got a lot of our money locked up in saving for that, making sure that we can afford to pay all of the vendors and everything. After the wedding goes through, then we might have a little bit more leeway for me to actually spend money on things. But I'm really trying my hardest to not spend anything until like September. Oh yeah, self-employed artist. Yup. So I made the fantastic decision. Well, it was a good decision at the time. With hindsight, it was terrible. I made the decision to quit my full-time job and start making plushies to sell at conventions in December of 2019. In March of 2019, our entire state shut down and pretty much every single convention was canceled. So I went, shit, and pivoted real hard into trying to sell things online on Etsy. And then my husband, who's a teacher, he had to then transition to teaching on Zoom almost overnight. They over spring break, 1 week, the school administrator, the college administrator decided between the choice of extend summer break 1 week to give teachers more time to prepare, or to have kids come back at the 1 week mark, they decided to have kids come back at the 1 week mark. And so my husband had exactly 1 week to completely change his entire class to be online. And he did not have, like, it's not a discussion type based class where they could just talk. So he had to redo everything, and he ended up doing all that teaching inside of my craft space. So I couldn't work or anything while he was working. And because I was still starting out and not making big money, I kind of had to defer to him to take over that space. So it's only now in like 2023 that I am actually doing my full-time thing, making plushies, as a full-time thing. Oh, projection mapping. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of fan of my husband. I like him. Yeah, he that was, oh boy, was that fun. And at the same time as he was transitioning into teaching online and making all of his classes like videos and live videos and everything on Zoom, he was also getting his PhD. So he had to defend on Zoom, where he was not expecting that at all. And oh, it's been a couple of years. It has definitely been a couple of years. But he's got a better job now than just that. Transitioned, oh, complete burnout after that. Transitioned away from teaching and much more into the like more administrative section of college. So he's doing more of like a tutoring center type stuff now. And I have a full craft room again. So I can actually do this full time. I can make frogs all day long. Oh, okay. You do, okay, papercraft type for stuff. Oh, so I know nothing about like the mapping and everything. Basically what I do is I've made plushies long enough that I know the same basic shapes. Like, I know that this kind of a weird pointy oval will turn into like half of, or that's like a quarter of a sphere. Especially on the type of fabric I use, like you have to take into account the stretch and everything. So I've kind of gotten those shapes down. And so then what I do is I just take those shapes and I wing it and kind of sew them together, see if they work out the right shape, like if they actually make the shape I'm expecting. And if they don't, I modify them slightly. If they do, I then take them and scan the pieces that I just sewed. I tear them all apart, do some plushie murder. I scan them in and I turn them into a much nicer vector line rather than a bunch of permanent marker drawn on fabric. Yeah, no flaps. We do have the seam allowance, but none of the little flaps that you get with like the paper that they have to be stuck together. The closest I think I've ever gotten to paper crafting or anything to do with that is for Animal Crossing. I pulled out, I found a website somewhere with all of the like 3D sprites of the Animal Crossing characters, and some of them had like the papercraft designs. So I had, is it called Pepakura or something like that? A program that basically flattened out the 3D shapes so that then you could turn them into a papercraft. And I looked at them and went, "Oh, that's interesting. That's about the shape I need for a plushie." And that was about it. So, like, I got some of the flat shapes, the basics of the flat shapes from the papercraft bits. But because fabric has like a fuzz direction to it and paper doesn't usually. There were some pieces I couldn't use them because they would have made the fuzz go like up the face the wrong way. But that's about as close as I've gotten. Yeah, peppercorn. Yep. So okay, so I am going to add. I wanted some of those spots, so I am going to add some spots. Ooh, blender. Okay. Ooh, that is one of those things that if I had more free time, I would really like to learn how to do blender. A couple of the other plushie makers that I follow and really like watching what they make, they use blender to basically create their plushies just on the computer, and then they unwrap them there, so that there's no real need to do the fabric tests like I do. I would like to someday do that, but that is also not like that's not how my brain really works. So I would have to do a lot of studying and learning for that, and not making other things at the same time. So it would take a lot of time that I would not be producing anything besides the learning. So that will probably be like my eventual goal is like this little frog that I'm making here. I'm making it so that I can make and sell these frogs, but I've also designed it in mind that I can sell this, which is why I made sure that everything fit into that little 4x4 square, because 4x4 or about 100 millimeters, that is the smallest real hoop size that embroidery machines are sold with. Now mine does a 360 by 200, which is something like 13, 14 inches tall. So I don't need anything to be limited by the 4 inches. And in fact, when I go and make these frogs, I will probably put multiple frogs into one large hoop, and I will make them that way just because it saves space. But I want to make it so that it does work in these tiny, tiny hoops, so that if I sell it, I can sell it to basically anybody. Like, it doesn't matter what size embroidery hoop you have, you can still make these frogs. And I don't want that spot there, actually. I want to move that. It was mimicking the first two spots a little bit too closely. Let me save that there. Crash everything. Cool. You're working again? Fantastic. Okay. Oh, templates on Etsy. Yes. Yeah, it's cool like making something for yourself, but then also being able to sell it afterwards, like multi-purpose. Yeah, I post my plushies up on Instagram as well. I've got most of the social medias. Um, do I actually remember to use them? No. That is something else that I am very bad at. I don't know how to properly promote myself. So I am very pleased with myself right now that my Instagram has almost 500 people. Like, I'm at the 490 something. And that is a lot of people for me. Like, that is something I'm kind of proud of. Like, in comparison to any other plushie maker, no, that is not a lot of people following. But to me, for getting to use Instagram all the time, like, yes, that is fantastic. And it has only taken me, what, 3 some years? Possibly more than that. But whatever. I'm still proud of myself. I feel like I've done very well getting to almost 500. So that's something that I'm very enthused about right now. I'm anxiously awaiting that 500th person. What is your Instagram? I'd like to see what you make. I will probably follow you from a different account than Dapper Moose Studio, just because I have two accounts, one for me looking at cool things and one for me filling my feed with plushies. Um, but yeah, I'd like to see. Well, probably not right now, but because I don't want to destroy my computer. I don't even have Firefox or anything open. But, oh, okay, just your same name. Okay. I am going to get my sticky notes. I'm going to make a note to myself. I'm probably going to be done streaming in a little less than an hour. I usually end at this. This pencil does not have lead. Okay, I cannot write with that. I'll probably be done streaming in like 45 minutes. That would be 5 o'clock my time. And then I will make a note. I'd like to check that out. Especially people who do things that I can't. Like, that is so cool. Like, yeah, okay, I love when people make plushies, and I think that's really cool. But when people do things like, when you have a skill that I don't have, that's just the coolest thing ever. Like, that's witchcraft and magic, and I love it. You inspire me to try and do something new. Okay, so how is that for spots? I don't have any spots by the butt. Hang on. I'm going to copy my big one, and I'm going to make another big spot down by the butt. Yeah, I think we need a butt spot. There we go. How's that? I don't like the angle. Hang on. I'm going to fiddle with this. There we go. I think I like that one. Okay. So the design is all within my seam allowance. I've got my extra space there. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. There we go. Remember to save because this is going to crash immediately. Yes. Okay. There we go. Now, I've made all these spots, and they've dropped them into the timeline on the right here, which is totally out of order. I do want this to kind of go through and sew sequentially, so I do not want it to jump around all that much. So, like, 10 is good, 11 is good, but now I want to go down to this little guy, who's actually 16, so I want him to go up to 12. So 10, 11, 12... 13's in the right place. 14's in the right place. 15, 16, 17. Fantastic! Yes. The true mark of being an artist is fiddling with something and being like, no, I think it needs to rotate 1 degree. It'll definitely look better. 1 degree different. And then you put it back at the end anyways. There's my spots. Now, do I want to make a dot for the eye? I think I do. That will just ensure that both of the eyes are at the exact right spot. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make this tiny little circle. Whoops, not like that. I want to make a tiny little outline circle. There we go. And that's a little long. I'm going to have it do 1 millimeter. Yeah. Okay. So I've got my frog piece here with the embroidery design. I've got my feet off to the side. Hopefully they're still good and they haven't glitched out yet. Going back to the body. I don't need the belly here, this very, very round piece, because I'm going to make that, just I'm going to cut down out of a piece of paper. And then once the top of the body with all the spots has embroidered, I will cut that out as well. So I will probably not trace the rest of it. I'll have a paper pattern piece for that one. I'll just have it do the embroidery, and then like when I sell the pattern, it will have that pattern piece as well. You embroider it out, and then you use the paper pattern piece to trace the rest of the lines and cut around it. I think that's what I'll do. I may still fiddle with this. I'm going to keep thinking about it. But for the most part, I think that's going to be the design there. Oh, one thing I want to move the eyeball circle. I'm going to put that at the beginning because it doesn't have to be with all the fancy stitches designs. That just has to be with like the placements. So I think what I'm going to do, again, we put the light green fabric down in the hoop. Then number 6, we trace out the area where it goes. Number 7, after I move this guy, number 7 is the one that actually holds the dark green fabric down. Number 9 is now number 8. That one reinforces my line. And I think after it reinforces the line, I should also have it do the little eyeball spot at that point. So it will tack down all the green fabric and put the little marker for the eye. Then it will embroider out all these little spotly dots. And some of these are so close together. I'm going to zoom in on them again. I don't actually want the embroidery machine to cut the thread in between them, because if it cuts the thread, it's just going to tangle underneath. So after this one, after number 11, my first spot, I'm going to go into my stitching options, and I'm going to turn off the trim, which is, I don't need any of these options. They're all good, so I'm not going to change any of them. I'm going to turn off the trim. That means my machine, or anybody's machine, is not going to cut the thread before it jumps to this next one. It will cut the thread before it jumps here. And it will cut the thread before it jumps here. But from here, I don't want it to cut the thread because it's going very, very close. Then it can cut, so it'll jump to here, and then it will not cut when it goes to this one. And then it's fine that it cuts and it goes to the last butt spot. Hey, yeah, cool. Fantastic. Yes, make a narwhal. And I'd love to see it when you're done. If you have like a social media or something where you post them, I'd love to see that. Otherwise, I will figure out how to make links a thing in my chat as well. So, yes, fantastic. Make a narwhal. Narwhal army, let's go! Fantastic. I think I'm done with this embroidery design for now. I still need to test it out. So that will be a thing. But I don't think I'm going to do any more like fiddling with the design right now. I'm going to test it out and then I'll continue to fiddle. So I'm going to save it for now. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Think and circle. Okay, now we've saved. And I think I'm going to find somebody to raid now. You have Discord. Oh, well, okay. I can see you. I can share my Discord with you and then you can send it to me there. Or if you have Discord and you like, if you upload a picture onto Discord, then you can use that as like a link to the picture. So you could send the link to the picture if you send the picture to yourself or something like that. I have a private server, I guess. I have a Discord server that I'm the only person in it, but I save pictures and things there, and then I use that to just link to them later in other places. So, yeah. Okay, so the frog bits have been saved. I've got to... I'm going to start up Firefox and maybe crash everything. Okay, let's see. Can you handle the Firefox? Maybe. You're thinking. You're thinking. Oh, my poor laptop. Oh, boy. Oh. don't even have a million tabs open. I have one tab. Ah. Okay, let's see if is there anybody else sewing plushies. Because that would be the best person to raid right now. It is still thinking. Oh boy. Yes. Okay, there are a couple of people making plushies. Um, let's see. What is she making? Mothra, the Queen of Monsters. Okay. We're going to go see what Ebony Dragon is making. Mothra. Spoilers. You have Blender 3D, I don't know what Resolume is, Synesthesia, and Heavy M all running at the same time to get frustrating mechanical. Yeah. How dare! Okay, let's see if that works. We're gonna go raid Ebony Dragon. I've only seen her stream once. I think her pronouns I'm not sure of. I've only seen their stream once. They were making a really cool like little dragon with like beads along the back of it. So we're gonna see what Mothra looks like. I don't think I'm going to stream tomorrow. I'm going to work on a couple of projects off stream, Disney related things that I don't want to put on stream just because I'm overly cautious. I'm going to work on that tomorrow, but I will be back on Monday and I will work, I'll be doing more of this frog. So I'm actually going to stitch out this frog and test and see if it works on Monday. So if you want to stop by on Monday, I do start streaming early in the morning, Eastern time zone. And then I end about now, 5 o'clock my time, or 4:30 my time. So I will be back on Monday to work on Frog and potentially some bigger custom dudes as well. So, yeah. And thanks for the follow. And I will see you guys all next week. Thanks. Bye, guys.